Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series, Questions and Answers, from the works of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Today, the Force and the Divine Force, Part 5, from Sri Aurobindo. You ask whether the adverse force is stronger than the divine force. The implication is that man has no responsibility for his action, and whatever he does, or however he errs and falls in consequence, the divine force is to blame. It may be so, but in that case there is no need or utility in doing sadhana. One has only to sit still and let the adverse force or the divine force do what they like. According to that theory, the devil was quite right in telling Christ, "Cast thyself down from this mountain, and let his angels come and upbear thee." And Christ was quite wrong in rejecting the suggestion and saying, "It is written, thou shalt not tempt," put to a test, "the Lord thy God." He ought to have jumped, and if he got smashed, it would only have proved that the adverse forces were greater than the divine force. Question: what is the Yoga Shakti? What is yogic mind force, yogic life force, and yogic body force? Sri Aurobindo. In the yogic consciousness, one is not only aware of things, but of forces. Not only of forces, but of the conscious being behind the forces. One is aware of all this not only in himself, but in the universe. There is a force which accompanies the growth of this new consciousness, and at once grows with it and helps it to come about and to perfect itself. This force is the Yoga Shakti. It is here asleep and coiled up in all the centers of our inner being, chakras, and is at the base what is called in the Tantras the Kundalini Shakti. But it is also above us, above our head, as the divine force, not there coiled up, involved, asleep, but awake, conscient, potent, extended, and wide. It is there waiting for manifestation, and to this force we have to open ourselves, to the power of the Mother. In the mind, it manifests itself as a divine mind force, or a universal mind force, and it can do everything that the personal mind cannot do. It is then the yogic mind force. When it manifests and works in the vital or physical in the same way, it is then apparent as a yogic life force or a yogic body force. It can awake in all these forms, bursting outwards and upwards, extending itself into wideness from below, or it can descend and become there a definite power for things. It can pour downwards into the body, working, establishing its reign, extending into wideness from above, link the lowest in us with the highest above us, release the individual into a cosmic universality, or into absoluteness and Transcendence. 23rd March, 1933. From the Mother. We are at a moment of transition in the history of the earth. It is merely a moment in eternal time, but this moment is long compared to human life. Matter is changing in order to prepare itself for the new manifestation. But the human body is not plastic enough and offers resistance. This is why the number of incomprehensible disorders and even diseases is increasing and becoming a problem for medical science. The remedy lies in union with the divine forces that are at work, and a receptivity full of trust and peace, which makes the task easier. Sweet Mother, I have noticed one thing. When I sit for a few minutes and make an effort to concentrate before going to sleep, the next day I wake up quite early and am quite fresh. I concentrate on the tiny, luminous tip of an incense stick. But how is it that I wake up early because of that? There is no relation between these two things? Mother, on the contrary, there is a very concrete relation. When you concentrate before sleeping, then in your sleep you remain in contact with the divine force. But when you fall heavily to sleep without any preliminary concentration, you sink into the inconscient, and the sleep is more tiring than restful. And it is difficult to come out of this sluggishness.